Welcome back to the show. We are live in Studio B. If one Dave on the show is good, why not bring in another Dave?
We always, the world's running out of Daves, and so anytime we can get multiple Daves together, I'm all for it.
He is David Nixon. It's been a long time. D-Nix, welcome back to BYU Sports Nation.
It's been too long. This feels right. I feel at home with you guys. Always fun. Hey, we're talking football. Yes. We're not talking months out advance. We're here. Football season is here. You can smell in the air, and finally we get to chat about meaningful type football as we roll up here to two-a-days.
Now, Nix, you played on good high school teams down there in College Station, and you played on good BYU teams. You got in the NFL and had some different experiences. So then you're in a perfect spot to answer this question. When people tell you that you're not going to be very good as a team, what is the real motivation there? Even at the NFL level, is it something that gets average players to play better and good players to play great, or what's the impact?
100%. I love that soundbite by Kalani where he said, we're ready to go. They're excited to get to the season because of how people kind of written off this BYU team. And in fact, I like the fact that when the watchers, viewers reached out and mentioned that they think this year's team will be similar to the BYU basketball team this last season where people were sleeping on them. Listen, I'm in the same boat. I think this football team, you look at the 22 starters, and you really only have two guys that are new to the program, Jack Kelly and Marquise Halls. I mean, other than that, you've got guys that have been around the program, have been around the coaching staff, and they understand kind of the philosophy and what Kalani's trying to achieve here. I love this team. And I think, we talk about one more year of experience, one more year of being around the program, the continuity that comes with that. Man, I think it's going to pay dividends this year, especially when you're coming off that heartbreaking season last year. We were so close to winning some of those games, a la Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. You learn from those mistakes, and that's something that you dwell on the whole offseason. It's something you practice and try to get better at, competing. And not only competing for 3 quarters, but competing to the end. And that's where they lacked in a few of those losses. And so I'm excited for this team. Listen, who cares about the preseason polls? I will say this. We never paid attention to them. We couldn't care less about the preseason polls and where they have you. Just go out there and take care of business. And I think that's what Kalani was trying to convey in that message is, hey, the season's about here, and we're just going to go out and do our thing. And I think that's the mentality, kind of a head-down mentality, come together as a team and play for each other. Who cares about the media?
David Nixon is on BYU Sports Nation. We've been discussing hot takes for BYU football and presented a number of scenarios, David. But our question of the day is, what is your hot take on BYU football that most would believe is hot, but you inside don't really think it's that hot? So what is it for you? What are you willing to go out on a limb and say BYU football will or will not do that you don't think is that piping hot, but everyone else is like, whoa, dude, settle down.
Yeah, listen, based off of last year, I think this team, it's achievable to get to 8 wins. And I know that's basically double what Vegas has put out there. But I think this team has it in them. I'm telling you that when you look at the 22, I just mentioned this, when you look at the 22, only 2 guys are new to the program. The fact that all the other 20 guys have been around, you look at the 2 deep, I think it's only 4 or 5 that are new to the program, whether it be transfers or freshmen. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have been around, and I love that aspect. You have a kind of senior, more veteran type program and a roster. And so for me, I think that's going to pay dividends here this year. So I'd say that's my hot take. We'll see if it comes to fruition. Listen, at the end of the day, it's all about protecting your home field. And if you want to go out there and protect the home field and pick up some games on the road, the path to 8 is achievable.
One thing we're seeing in this quarterback battle, which will resume next Tuesday when the guys report for fall camp, is that Gary Bohannon has gotten stronger and better and more comfortable all summer long. We've heard it from the players working out with him. We've heard it from the coaches, the quarterback coach, there's John Beck, who's been working with him. Blaine went over and watched him. If he is fully healthy, meaning that shoulder surgery that kept him out last year is done and behind him, at 6'3" and 235, an outstanding runner. And if he's throwing on target, what does that do for BYU's chances? Can he win that starting job? And I believe he can. But what does it do for their chances going into a conference that he has already won when he was Baylor's quarterback a few years ago?
So it definitely doesn't hurt. I will say this. I think players, they recognize who that guy is, right? And they're going to gravitate toward that, whoever that starting quarterback is. And they're going to rally behind that quarterback, whether it's Jake or Gary. So for me, it's coaches will realize pretty quickly here in fall camp, the first week or so, week or two, of who the guys are behind, right? Who thinks the player-wise, who gives the best shot at quarterback position for the players to go out there and feel confident in winning and performing. And then the coaches have to make that decision. So, listen, it's great news. You always love competition. You love the fact that, neither Jake or Gary can kind of relax because they know that everyone's pushing them. And I mean, that's going back to the NFL days. That's what it was all about. You always had guys competing, and then even guys that weren't on the team. I share stories about we'd be walking out to practice, and I look outside, and they're working out 3 or 4 linebackers, and nobody's even hurt. They're just working out guys to make sure that if you slip up one day, you're gone, and they're bringing the next guy in. They just have guys on the back burner waiting for you. And so I love that mentality. It wasn't great as a player, but you had to do it as a program. And I think it applies to BYU and the fact that you've got a lot of guys. Look at that 2 deep, especially the quarterback position. You've got a lot of experience from Gary. Look at Jake. Jake's learned a lot in this offseason. Going, if you watch the film from last year, his mistakes. So I think those two will push each other. And hopefully it's a healthy battle. You don't want there to be some dissension between the two and going at each other. But hopefully they push each other. And I mean, if there's anything that's taught us with BYU in the last decade, is you better have 2 healthy quarterbacks.
David Nixon on BYU Sports Nation. I know you are a man who took great pride in protecting Lavelle Edwards Stadium. David, correct me if I'm wrong, you never lost a home game as a BYU football player when you were a starter, correct?
Post-mission, yep, 06, 07, 08. 03, I try not to think about 03.
We'll give you that. We'll give you that. We'll exclude the pre-mission thing, but when you were like a legitimate participant and were playing as a starter, you never lost a home game. We were talking earlier about BYU posting a winning record at home. The Cougars have 4 teams that received at least 1 first-place vote in the Big 12 preseason media poll, all playing in Provo. So what is a fair and realistic expectation for BYU on their home field this season?
So you look down the roster of the home game. Southern Illinois, I think BYU should take care of that game. KSU's second, I think, in the polls, right behind Utah. Arizona is pretty prolific. That's going to be a tough game. Oklahoma State, Kansas, Houston. I think, I'd love to see at least 4 and 2 in there. I think you split those and go 3 and 3. And then next thing you know, you go to your away games, and you've got SMU. You pick that one up on the road as well as Wyoming. So now you're at 5 wins. And then, you go to UCF, that's 6. And then you pick up an ASU 7, and then Utah and Baylor in swing games on the road. Listen, that's what I'm saying. I think there's a path to 8 here. I think a lot of it requires the BYU team staying healthy. I mean, that's always the name of the game, right? But I think that it's plausible. And listen, I know it's a hot take. I know Vegas has them at 4.5. I get it. And they didn't perform great last year. I know they lost, into the season on the losing streak. But that's all the motivation for this team moving forward. And I think one more year under, just Kalani's reign and Jay Hill and the defense. I mean, I think all of that comes together. They're starting to get their guys in there. I think this all comes together pretty well. And like I said, I like the position where you're kind of sleepers, you're underdogs, and you just go out there and perform. You go out there and do your game and do your assignments and play your ball. And I think you'll be shocked. I think BYU pulls off some upsets here that nobody expected.
That's our exact approach to After Further Review, which starts its 11th season a week from tomorrow. So next Tuesday, what do you want folks to learn from that show?
I think, these first few shows in the year are just getting to know the players and who to expect to see rolling out there in that first game against Southern Illinois. Who are the guys you're going to be seeing? And frankly, as I mentioned, it's going to be a lot of similar guys, but finally healthy. And you look at it, was just a revolving door last year on the defense, offense as well. Finally, everybody's healthy and everybody's heading to the season. And so I'm excited to kind of showcase all those players that got some playing time, whether it's a lot or a little. But like I said, all of them are familiar with the program and back at it. So these first few weeks of AFR, it's first of all, it's just football. We love talking football, especially in July. But second of all, just getting to see some of these familiar faces and what to expect in the upcoming season.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
David Nixon, great to talk to you, my friend. If you want to know the path to 8 wins for BYU, he just laid it out. You can go back and he'll do it again on demand.
I like that path.
Hey, we'll see you on After Further Review and talk to you again soon, brother.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks guys.
Thanks.